Hey, what's happening, everybody? Thank you so much for joining me on this Friday, which is, of course, Manager Tournament Friday. Now, this is, if I'm not mistaken, I think this is the fifth round of the My Favorite Manager Tournament. And, I've been filming all these videos out of order. I'll film a few Manager Tournament videos, but I've got all the other in-between videos, so it's hard to keep track of where I left off. But I'm positive this is round 5. And unfortunately, in the last video, the round 4 semifinals, I was not able to complete both semi and finals in the same video. Sorry, I had to make you wait a whole nother week to find out who the winner is. I was just curious to see, guys, who your thoughts were that was going to win this tournament, and I don't know. Even today, I still have not figured out, and it's been a while since I filmed that last video, and I still have no idea where I'm going with this. I can say, without a shadow of doubt, who I like the most based on certain aspects, but is he really going to be the favorite figure for this tournament? Well, let's go with your finalists. Those who are the finalists in this, the My Favorite WWF LJN Manager Tournament, includes from Series 3. Series 3 Manager Bobby Heenan Custom. I believe Freddie Blassie was also Series 3. So Series 3 Freddie Blassie and Series 5 Vince McMahon. So I will start with Freddie Blassie because, in all honesty, when I first started thought of the My Favorite Manager Tournament, I had already done a My Favorite LJN Tournament twice. And managers, typically, they do okay, but not great. And it's a shame because, to be honest, they're managers. They're not intended for play or for usage as actual wrestlers. But when I started my first Rumble, started using the figures, I wanted to see how they played, what the feel was like. And Freddie Blassie, to me, is one of the most enjoyable playing wrestling action figures ever. He's got almost identical play pose to that of SD Jones. SD Jones is bigger, he's more bulkier, he's got the left choke slam with the lower right fist. So, Freddie Blassie is just a little bit of an opposite to him. And I try to be as realistic with my matches as possible as well, right? Yeah, Freddie Blassie would come in, I'd play with them a little bit, just kind of get that feel and everything. But as much as I would love to see him be like, final 2 standing, final 4 standing, winner, or something like that, I have to look at it from a realistic standpoint. Like, hey, he's 70 years old. With all these young buff guys in there, he ain't gonna do too well. I mean, I don't see Freddie Blassie winning over Kamala or Andre the Giant, Hulk Hogan, type of guys, right? So, he stays in there for a little while, does his part to have a very prominent role, I guess, in the Rumble match before he's tossed out. When I first thought of this tournament, I thought this was going to be my winner. Yeah, you could say customs might have a better opportunity sometimes because it's fresher, more unique interpretations or, points of view for the creator on that particular wrestler. But I absolutely love the original Freddie Blassie. I don't care about the clothing and all that. His play pose does it for me. One of the most amazing figures. And I think I actually have him in my top 20 favorite LJNs. Just so how much I enjoy the play pose and the use of this figure. Vince McMahon, I've always loved the figure because it's just a great overall look. I love the 3-piece suit that he has. None of the colors match up, but it's still a very solid look. A very solid commentator look on top of it. You got the dark blue pants, right? You got the red blazer jacket. You got this light blue or possible gray vest. White shirt, which is fine with the little white handkerchief. At least the red tie matches the jacket, so you do have some kind of blending going on there, but even though it's all mixed color, it works really well. And any of his customs could have won this tournament, but eventually the original landed in the finals, and I'm not surprised. Well, I guess I could be a little bit surprised because great figure, but does he deserve to be a finalist? With a random drawing or a blind drawing, however you want to call it, you're going to have an opportunity for some pretty bad figures to move forward, because a bad figure could face off against an even worse figure. Vince McMahon is not a bad figure. Vince McMahon is an awesome figure. Also considering that when I shouldn't take the value or price of a figure into consideration. Not for this tournament. It's all got to be based on play pose and aesthetics and all that, right? But that's one of the more reasons why you gravitate towards a Vince McMahon LJN, because the value is so high. This one is not mint, but I mean, he's in really solid shape, right? A couple of blemishes, but 90% to 95% solid. If this went on eBay, it probably goes for $70 to $125, right? So either of these two figures that are left over, you're probably looking at $50 total, and that's only because one of them was a custom. But great positive look. I don't like the finger up, which kind of takes away from the figure. But he does have the one-arm fighting skill. I made a comparison between Vince McMahon and the Galoob Ron Simmons. I've said that Ron Simmons is probably my least favorite wrestling figure ever made. But I've never complained about this, even though he's got the fused hands to the chest. I never really complained about Rick Rude LJN with the hands fused to the waist, or the Macho Man original San Francisco figures, which are fused to the waist or the side. I actually think that Macho Man original San Francisco is probably the worst figure ever made. At least Ron Simmons can drop an elbow, right? But like I said, it's really hard to complain about this particular design when you know the intended purpose. So, kind of like a sidetrack, right, real quick. When Random Treasures came out with Ivan Putski, and I gave it such a low rating, and Annette, she asked me, like, what's wrong with the figure or whatnot. And I basically told her, hey, the play pose sucks. And essentially she tells me, well, shoot, that's, what he was known for doing. I'm like, so be it. To me, the play pose is what makes the figure. I've made the argument that these are not resin figures. They are not non-playable figures. They're rubber. They're made for play. That's the purpose, right? If you made a resin figure, it's a statue. It's a decorative piece only. These aren't decoration. They shouldn't be. Now, for us adults who collect them now, sure. For me, yeah, it is basically decorative only. But in this case, with the rubber LJN, he's not intended for wrestling. He's intended to just, I don't know, be by the side of the ring, kind of being like your voiceover and doing commentary. When I was a kid and I had my Hasbros and Galoobs and like these random toys that we would use as wrestlers, and I'm sitting there and I'm doing commentary as I'm wrestling, do you think I had any random figure off to the side as Mean Gene Okerlund calling out the names, or doing interviews, or Gorilla Monsoon or Bobby Heenan doing No, I'm basically talking in my own voice, talking like as if I were a commentator myself. So I just don't understand how kids use it like that. If I was a kid, like I said, this guy would have gotten action. They all would have gotten action. There's no doubt about it. I was too young, so I never had the opportunity to have these figures, which is a shame because they are amazing. Bobby Heenan. I was disappointed that the original Bobby Heenan figure did not make the finals. When it boiled down to it, I asked myself, if Bobby Heenan original went up against the Bobby Heenan custom, which one would I have chosen? And it was hard to tell, but I decided I thought maybe I was more likely to choose the custom over the original. So the original moved forward, or the custom moved forward, and Vince McMahon was the second version to move on to the finals. So I think in that regard, could I possibly say that Vince McMahon is eliminated? Because I would have chosen original Bobby Heenan over this figure. And if I chose custom Bobby Heenan over original Bobby Heenan, makes sense. It makes sense to me, and hopefully it makes sense to you guys. You know, the easiest thing about, or the toughest thing about doing a three-man finals is to find that first figure to put down. But once you put one down, you're able to at least work on two. And this right here, still impossible. I love this figure. Like I said, a top 20. Original Bobby Heenan is not in my top 20 list. I think if I continued doing that countdown, I think I would have him somewhere. The original figure would be in my top 30. Yeah, I think Bobby Heenan would probably be in the top 30. He would have to be top 35, maybe top 40, definitely. I mean, his play pose is just too good. God darn stuffy nose. Itching. I don't know if it's like itching off my top of my mustache or what. It's like right here on the edge. So Bobby Heenan. I keep making the argument that I'm going to have to do it. I know that I said I may not have to because I've already made my decision twice. And the same person keeps coming out as victorious. But I might have to do a My Favorite LJN tournament again. Technically, it's March already, and I should have already completed the tournament, or at least started the tournament, either December or January time frame. You know, one every year. But this is tough. I feel like because of the uniqueness of the figure, the design, the additions that are physically built onto the body and not just like removal. I think if it was just like a simple cloth or Velcro, no, not Velcro. What's that called? Some kind of like no, they couldn't. They could use cotton or something. Put like a little cotton ball at the edge there. But I don't know if it was just something like that, like little cloth clothing like you get from Remco. I don't know if that would have the same effect on this figure if, you know, based on how they designed this. So I think including that belt-on was absolutely brilliant. And with the sparkles and the glitter everywhere, this figure is just so classy. Sorry, Freddy. This is such a great figure, and I made the argument that if I ever did a My Favorite tournament again, there are figures like Ricky Steamboat, now the actual Dragon version, and not the stupid LJN version, which is horrible. And so that one, I think that the Colonel Mustafa Iron Sheik figure would, you know, and I hate the Iron Sheik figure. I think the Iron Sheik from LJN is terrible, but that figure that I picked up from Harvey Snuts was amazing. Awesome design. I think this version of Bobby Heenan could potentially be a front runner. So there are a lot of great customs I've gotten in recently that I think could really impact that tournament all in all. So aesthetics, Bobby Heenan, come on, there's not even a question. Play pose, Freddie Blassie, like I said, is such an amazing figure. Bobby Heenan, his play pose is not bad at all. Like, I don't know. So left hand, a little bit better, obviously. But, you know, little uppercuts and whatnot. Yeah, I could see Bobby Heenan being a very fun, playable action figure. Way back when I was doing those tournaments, those wrestling matches, I only used the figures that I had doubles of. And so, like, I would have my main figures on the shelf, and any figure that has a duplicate was kind of like in this little bin at the time. And that's because every time I bought bundles, you know, I might only need like one or two figures, but here's like 10 others added to the list because I think I'm going with my decision, guys. The first annual, or possibly only, My Favorite WWF LJN Manager Tournament winner is Bobby Heenan Elf Custom. I just could not find, and trust me guys, when it came down to these two, I tried everything I could to think of inside my head to find ways to put this guy over. I just there's just no blemishes on this figure to complain about. Fighting pose is great. Bobby Heenan's name recognition. One of my favorite commentators growing up. I hated him as a manager as a kid, but I love him as a manager as an adult. Definitely respect his career. And I respect the fact that he played his role. He was essentially an actor, and wrestling is 50% acting, so. And the overall, the artist who made this, I don't know if Harvey was the artist or if he just bought this from someone, but whoever made this was brilliant with this interpretation. Generally, when you get customs, you want the customs to be of something maybe that particular character wore in ring or wore in wrestling, right? So turning, like, I saw on Facebook, like a $1 Million Man, LJN turned into Freddy Krueger. But at the same time, that figure looks so spectacular, and I would love to have a Freddy Krueger LJN like that. So, yeah, kind of creating a Christmas-themed character and an elf. I mean, I think this is spectacular. I could not find any issues with this figure whatsoever. So, some people might say, okay, Bobby Heenan won the tournament. They won't say Bobby Heenan custom or Bobby Heenan elf. They'll just say Bobby Heenan. That's fine. I think if I didn't own this elf, it's a very strong possibility that the original Bobby Heenan would have won this tournament anyways. But Freddie Blassie or Bobby Heenan, either one, I think was a toss-up. Flip a coin. Either one deserved it. So, your finalist in the My Favorite Manager tournament, and the winner goes to, once again, Bobby Heenan. Guys, another tournament is in the books. I said a while ago, man, I'm the tournament guy, and shoot, like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life if I'm not creating some kind of tournament. So far, from what I hear from the people that, actually leave messages on these tournaments, you guys seem to be, loving the tournaments, or at least be interested in them, which is fantastic. I don't want to be, like, overdoing it, though, because at some point, you guys are going to lose interest in those tournaments, and the views are going to drop significantly, and I don't want that to happen. So, plus I always try to incorporate tournaments that are fun and unique, something that no one else is doing. All right. Next tournament idea. I've been talking about it for a while. The next tournament I'm looking at doing is my least favorite LJN figure. Finding 64 figures is really impossible. I'm gonna have to take some amazing figures, like I don't know, like some of my favorite customizers. I'm gonna have to take their figures and throw them in there if I did 64 figures, like Paul Orndorff. Paul Orndorff is not on my list of 32 bad figures, but if I had to come up to 64 figures, yeah, pretty much Paul Orndorff original plus all of the customs I have would definitely be on that list, because Paul Orndorff is just not a favorite figure of mine, and there's some awesome pieces that I don't want to put on there, So I decided to go with 32 figures. 32 figures were hard, but 32 figures were manageable. So, if I do my least favorite LJN tournament, it'll consist of 32 figures. So, 32, down to 16, down to 8, down to 4, down to 2. It'll still be 5 rounds. 32 figures. I could probably get that done in 3 videos if I stretch one of them out. Otherwise, I'll break it down like maybe 4 matches or so and get it done in 4 videos. Yeah, that's what I'll do. 4 matchups of video for 4 videos in the first round. But like I said, guys, I'm probably not going to keep doing Tournament Friday, because I feel like this is something that you guys need to watch on a daily basis, or at least 2 or 3 videos a week, because once a week, it just, I'm pretty sure people are going to lose interest by continuing doing it that way. If I'm wrong and you guys feel like doing it one video a week on the tournament is perfectly fine and that you have no issues, please tell me and I'll continue to do so. If you guys feel like no, it's hard to keep track, tell me that too, and I'll try and do a workaround. With that being said, that completes the tournament and completes this video. No new updates at this moment, so I'll talk to you guys in the comments. And as always, thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye, everybody.